City of New Brunswick, Title 10 for handicap parking. First reading, an ordinance to approve long-term tax exemption. 2, an ordinance to amend the redevelopment plan for a scattered site redevelopment area. 3, an ordinance to amend the redevelopment plan for the Jersey Sanford redevelopment area. 4, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the City of New Brunswick, Title 3, Revenue and Finance. Resolutions. 1, approve agenda amendments. 2, approve payroll. 3, authorize refund for redeemed tax sales certificates. 4, approve payment for emergency procurement of rapid pump and meter. 5, authorize lease of copy machine for the police department. 6, approve shared service agreement with the New Brunswick Board of Education. 7, approve amendment of resolution R-082141 with Suburban Consulting. 8, approve award of contract with Garden State Laboratories. 9, approve amendment of resolution R-052219 to include grantor language. 10, approve amendment of resolution R-052227 for a Title 39 agreement. 11 through 17 are requests for use of city property and street closings. 18, authorize lease of copy machine for police department. 19, approve amendment of resolution R-032243 with Hoagland, Longo, Moran, Dunstan, Dukas. 20, approve renewal of liquor license with special ruling. 21, approve award of contract with Northeastern Benefit. 22, approve resolution for acceptance of long-term tax exemption. 23, authorize tax collector to transfer overpayments on several tax and utility accounts. 24, approve award of contract with Triad Advisory Services. 25, approve relaxation of city noise ordinance with World's Best Temp. 26, approve award of contract with Montana Construction. 27, approve award of contract with Rtfnb Analytical. 28 was pulled. 29, set hearing date relative to continuation or termination of conditions on ABC licenses. 30, approve request for use of city property and closure of streets. Then we have items for discussion by council, public comment. The next meeting will be on June 1st at 5 p.m. The meeting will now come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Egan will be late. Councilmember Fleming will be late. Council Vice President Escobar.
Here.
Council President Socorro Ludwig.
Here. Please be advised that the notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act have been complied with and satisfied, and that the annual notice, which gave sufficient notice of the time, place, and conduct of all public meetings of the Municipal Council of the City of New Brunswick, has been filed with the City Clerk, has been placed on an appropriate bulletin board and posted in the back vestibule of City Hall, visible to the public through the windows in the lobby of City Hall, New Brunswick, New Jersey, and has been transmitted to the official newspaper for the City of New Brunswick, namely the Home News Tribune. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As Memorial Day approaches, please remain standing in a moment of silence for all our fallen soldiers. Thank you.
Move the minutes of March 16, 2022.
Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Council Vice President Escobar.
Yes.
Council President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes. Madam Clerk, has the correspondence been directed to the appropriate departments?
Yes, Madam President. The correspondence received by the City Clerk's office has been forwarded to the appropriate departments for further action.
Thank you. I have a few updates. First, there were a few comments about our community policing programs, and I just wanted to let everybody know that we do have a lot of them. They do address issues throughout the community from the time kids are young through high school, and just regular issues that we deal with in the community. These programs are Crime Watch, which is a coordinated effort with neighborhood crime watch groups. Crimes Prevention, which helps residents and business owners assess safety and advise for securing property. DARE, which is a drug abuse resistance program offered to all 5th graders. GREAT, which is a gang-resistant education and training, which is offered to all 6th graders. Educated Encounters for high school students dealing with First and Fourth Amendment issues, interacting with police, criminal law, and the court system. Middlesex County Chiefs Job Fair, Thanksgiving Turkey Drive, Holiday Toy Drive, Winter Coat Drive, National Night Out, Police Chaplains Group, NBPD Community Outreach, Trunk or Treat, Elijah's Promise, and a sponsored soccer academy with New Brunswick Tomorrow. So the list is quite extensive. They are out in the community doing their job all the time. Next, the Nixal Alerts through the NBPD are regulated through guidelines to ensure the integrity of the system and alert the public of instances that may pose a threat. This process alleviates disregard for the system in benign situations and lets the community know that when they do in fact receive an alert, it does warrant attention. There was a comment about the Code Blue program, and the approximate cost for 2021 and 2022 was $150,000. Ms. Richardson's comments and concerns are being addressed at the request of the council through Mr. Droulis and the administration, as well as independent investigations from the council. Once any determinations have been made, barring individual personnel matters that preclude us from comment, I will provide an update in this forum. Next, I was asked for a hypothetical figure of school taxes and instances of pilots. I have not put together the information for this what-if scenario. I am reluctant to deduce such a figure based on my own opinion, whereas an approach without giving the full set of facts would be irresponsible. If I provide what if there was no pilot, I also have to provide the scenario of what if there was no development and the tax base is not de facto positively increased when the school tax benefits at full tax rate after the pilot is over. This requires expert economic analysis, and it's not something that the council should be charged with doing. And then I just wanted to address two comments from Councilwoman Escobar at the last meeting. For the record, there was in fact a quorum at the last Housing Authority meeting. They cannot conduct business or hear an application without a quorum. And second, dealing with the resolution of the summer schedule. It was not drafted as a trial and error resolution. And I don't believe in that type of government. I think everyone takes a different approach, but I think as city officials, we need to be deliberate in the policy that we set forth. Those are my comments for this evening. And now we can move on to public hearings. For this, I've asked City Market to come before you tonight. They're looking for an extension on the street closure down on George Street. They're going to just do a little presentation, and I wanted everybody to be able to ask questions if they had any concerns, and also give the availability to businesses from down there to come and speak if they'd like, and the council to also ask questions. So if you would please.
Good evening to the honorable members of the New Brunswick City Council. I am Bruce Carnegie, the Vice Chairman of New Brunswick City Market. I'm here to thank the City of New Brunswick for the overwhelming support shown to the business community throughout the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. The plight of businesses impacted negatively nationwide has been well documented, but locally I consider New Brunswick to be a textbook lesson in survival. Our goal is to continue to provide outdoor dining and entertainment options to the residents, businesses, student population during these difficult times. With the COVID numbers spiking, we are also hearing from the restaurants that most of their customers are requesting to dine outdoors. Considering new COVID-19 variants and the change in seasonal weather, the George Street corridor continues to be a premier destination for dining and entertainment. The winter months are challenging, but the onset of warm weather in the last few weeks has proven that New Brunswick is the place to enjoy a safe, clean, convenient downtown environment. We respectfully request the City Council for a short-term extension of our pedestrian plaza on George Street with the proposed reopening of George Street to vehicles on or about October 24th. During these months, New Brunswick City Market is committed to a robust outdoor programming schedule to include events like a traveling sculpture exhibit by Seward Robert Johnson, Rutgers football game watches and homecoming, car shows, a silent disco party during Pride Month, and New Brunswick Oktoberfest. We feel that this closure extension will benefit the entire community. We will also continue collaborating with the Parking Authority on a 30-minute free parking in the lower Church Street parking garage. This is a very valuable commodity for the retailers, as they were able to promote free parking for 30 minutes to their customers in their promotions. Embracing this exciting trajectory for the George Street corridor will continually create and sustain jobs for city residents, increase the economic vitality of the downtown, and ultimately provide a differentiating amenity for our businesses and residents. We thank you in advance for your consideration.
Thank you. And just to make clear, there is an end date to this, which is that October 22nd?
October 24th.
October 24th. Okay, so there is an end date to this extension. It's not something that's going to keep happening on and off with this resolution or ordinance that we passed. Do any of the members of the council have any questions?
Not at this time.
No.
Do any members of the public wish to comment?
It's not a public
Oh,
comment,
okay, I'm
it's
sorry.
a presentation.
Well then, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for your time.
It's a presentation by City Market, Madam Council President.
And the resolution you can speak on
At
at the
the
next
time of the
meeting.
resolution, whatever the council likes to do, then there'll be public comment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we have ordinance for discussion on second reading. One, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the City of New Brunswick, Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 10.20, Handicap Parking, Section 10.20.010, Schedule 3.9, Parking Zones for Handicapped Persons at 8 Lake Street. We are preparing to open the public hearing for this ordinance only for up to 5 minutes per person, one time up. If any members of the public wish to speak on this ordinance, please approach the council. Seeing none?
Move the ordinance.
Second?
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Council Vice President Escobar.
Yes.
Council President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes. Now we have ordinances on first reading. One, an ordinance to approve a long-term tax exemption and financial agreement between the City of New Brunswick and Rtfnb Urban Renewal, LLC, for the Seer site. Block 7.07.01, lots 35.13, and Block 710, lots 7.02, 7.03, and 7.04.
Move the ordinance setting down June 1st, 2022 at 5 p.m. same day to be advertised.
Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Council Vice President Escobar.
Yes.
Council President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes. Two, an ordinance to amend the redevelopment plan for the New Brunswick Scattered Site Redevelopment Plan Area in the City of New Brunswick.
Move the ordinance setting down June 1st, 2022 at 5 p.m. same day to be advertised.
Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Council Vice President Escobar.
Yes.
Council President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes. Three, an ordinance to amend the redevelopment plan for the New Brunswick Jersey Sanford Redevelopment Plan Area in the City of New Brunswick.
Move the ordinance setting down June 1st, 2022 at 5 p.m. same day to be advertised.
Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Council Vice President Escobar.
Yes.
Council President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes. Four, an ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinances of the City of New Brunswick, Title 3, Revenue and Finance, add Planning and Zoning Board of Adjustment attorney fees.
Move the ordinance setting down June 1st, 2022 at 5 p.m. same day to be advertised.
Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Council Vice President Escobar.
Yes.
Council President Socorro Ludwig.
Yes. Next, we have resolutions 1 through 30. 28 was pulled. At this time, we're preparing to open the meeting to the public on the resolutions only for up to 5 minutes per person. If you'd like to speak, please step forward to the microphone and give your name and address before your comment.
Good evening, council members. Charlie Cradwell, New Brunswick Today. I'm here to talk about the long-term tax exemption. Can you tell me, is the developer here to answer questions?
I don't believe so.
Okay. What, I notice you have a resolution and an ordinance on this same topic. Why is that? What happens if the resolution passes but the ordinance fails?
Mr. Chairman, could you explain that?
The statute relative to pilots requires that the council accept the application requesting the pilot that's been submitted to the mayor and the administration. The ordinance is to actually grant the pilot, which will be on for second reading at our next meeting.
Under that same statute, isn't it true that the applicant must be the designated redeveloper of a redevelopment project?
Mr. Chairman.
Well, it's one of the steps in the process, if you will.
And isn't it true that this applicant applied to be the designated redeveloper for this project, and the vote taken by the Housing Authority Board of Commissioners failed, and they were rejected?
That is true.
Okay, so then why on earth would this council pursue giving the developer a 30-year tax exemption if they were rejected in their bid to become the redeveloper. It
It's
doesn't
my
make sense.
understanding that they're going back before the housing authority on the same issue.
Okay, respectfully, we should kindly hold off and table this until the housing authority can make their decision.
I don't think unless we
It's not a legal
statutorily have to.
requirement,
Okay,
no.
if it's not a legal requirement,
As I
then
said,
we don't have to do
it's a
that.
step in the process, it's a necessary prerequisite for the final approval, but there's no,
And if we approve this and they're not reapproved, then it becomes null and void.
Right, but why not let the housing authority make their decision, right? They are the ones who get to choose the designated redeveloper. The vote failed. They actually put it to a vote and it failed. Why are you steamrolling ahead with this project? You're essentially usurping the housing authority's role here.
We're not usurping their authority. They still have the authority. They will still have a hearing on this, and they can make the determination of whether they designate or not.
Okay, well, do you support having the project? Are you going to recuse yourself from it? Because last time I asked, you said that there's a conflict for you to weigh in on this project since you're also on the planning board. Are you going to
You asked me specifically about the site plan, and I didn't want to speak to the site
I
plan
did
because
not.
I hadn't seen it before the planning board
I
yet.
did not. I asked you if you're okay with having no affordable units in the project. What's your opinion on the fact that this is 720 housing units, and they're talking about renting them for $1,600 to $1,700 for the studios? Well, do you support that? Do you support this development having 0 affordable housing units and extreme expensive units?
I do support this because they're also putting approximately $1 million into a fund that's going to be used for the housing authority. They're going to set up their own entity, nonprofit entity, so it will go back into the affordable housing in New Brunswick, however we need it the most, and benefit some community organizations that we do have in town.
How much is that payment?
I think it was $1,500 per unit, right around $1 million,
Per year or one time?
one time.
One time? That's really pitiful. You think about how many millions of dollars they're going to make off of this project. This is 720 housing units. They couldn't even be bothered to send a representative here. The housing authority has rejected them in unprecedented denial. Maybe Mr. Shamley knows, has the housing authority ever rejected an application to become the designated redeveloper for a project?
I can't speak to what the housing authority does or doesn't do, I don't represent them.
Okay, well, I can't help but be concerned that this is corporate welfare, that this is a very wealthy company that is going to get a huge tax break. I asked at the last meeting, this was not addressed yet, how much will the discount be? You say it's a hypothetical, but you're about to approve it. How much will the discount be on the property taxes?
We have to do evaluation of the property after everything is complete to even have that figure, but they are putting a minimum of $1.7 million into the pilot program every year after the 2-year lease-up period. And there is a percentage increase on that that goes in accordance with their revenue.
So you don't know if it's a 90% tax break or a 20% tax break or somewhere in between? You're not clear on how much of a discount it will be.
The percentage, Mr. Dominguez, do you know that from the school?
Off the top of my head, I do not.
Okay, that would be critical information before you approve this, to have that, what kind of discount we're giving. I just handed your administrator the document from your own budget that you just approved at the last meeting that shows all the pilots, and I have to audit this to make sure it's correct, but on this, it says basically $8 million is what you're billing from all the pilots in the city. 18.3 would be what the developers would have to pay if they paid full taxes. So that's more than 50% discount on these existing projects. We don't need more corporate welfare. We don't need more gentrification. We are sick and tired of developers
Thank you for your comments.
getting
Can I
whatever
have the
they want
next
from this
speaker,
board.
please? Please state your name, spell your last name, and give us your
Sure.
address.
I'm Patricia Bomblin, Bombelyn. Good evening, Ms. Escobar. It's nice to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, I too share deep concerns about long-term tax abatements that I believe and have long believed are overused in this city. I don't believe the city has any business granting a long-term tax abatement, certainly one for 30 years. What I know about this project is something that Mr. Cradavell already stated, is there's no affordable housing units included in this. And I do believe that if this city is going to give tax abatements, let alone long-term ones, there should be something in it for the public. This this development with 700 odd units would seem to populate our schools, at least one school. If you just had one child in half the units, that's about almost 400 kids. And that's probably a low estimate. I know that it's questionable whether a developer can build a school, but you're going to have 400 more kids to put in school if you're assuming they're going to go to public school, unless indeed you're assuming they're not going to go to public school. I happen to believe that oftentimes a tax abatement is kind of what we call maybe a wink and a nod school voucher. You know, come here. We know you don't like the schools. We know you're higher income. We want to bring more higher income into the city. We know you won't use our schools. Your taxes are a little lower, so you're going to get to use that offset to pay the tuition for your children. And I think that's unfair, because I think all the kids deserve a voucher, to be honest with you. I think all the kids, if it's not good enough for the people you're going to attract to this development, then it shouldn't be good enough for the kids, or at least the kids who are in our schools should also have a choice. So my question is, you want to give away a 30-year tax abatement. I follow tax abatements. The Gold Coast of Jersey City is famous for the tax abatements. Jersey City doesn't do 30 years. It's a little bit of a stretch. You and I, we might be dead in 30 years, you know? And we're saddling our great-grandchildren and our grandchildren with this, and there's nothing in it for the public. You're telling us there's a $1 million donation to the Housing Authority over 30 years. That's really abysmal. Is there a public park? In New York City, you develop land, you got to create public space. You have to have running water. You have to make it attractive. You have to follow urban development guidelines to make it attractive to people. So the question about, clearly, this plot of land something has to happen there. Something needs to replace Sears. But if you're going to give away a 30-year tax abatement, what is in it other than $1 million over 30 years for the public? Where are those kids going to go to school? What do any of you believe is going to happen with those? It's got to be 300 to 600 kids every year out of that development are going to be potentially in public schools, or do you believe they're not going to go to public school? What about the roads? What about the water and sewer? And at the end of the day, the folks who have been here a long time and who don't benefit from tax abatements, they're going to be saddled with subsidizing these services for this development. And I really think it's a mistake. I really think 30 years is way too much. And I do think that you need to ask hard questions. Nobody expects you, Madam Council President, to calculate those numbers about what's the pilot, what's the ratables, and what the difference would be. But you should most certainly have an expert, an economic expert, that calculates that for you, and you should be able to tell the public what those numbers are. I called today to ask for a copy of the agreement. I was told I can't get it until you act tonight. I wrote to TK, and I asked him to send it to me. And I said, if you have legal authority that says, I can't get a copy of the ordinance, I can't get a copy of the financial agreement before the meeting, tell me what the legal authority is. Otherwise, send it to me. Because I'm here, I have to speak to you about a document I haven't read. I presume you've all read it, but I should be able to read it to tell you what I think about it. I shouldn't have to stand here. This isn't a Broadway show. I don't think I'm at Cabaret seeing a reenactment of Joel Grey singing,
For your comments,
you know.
and your time has expired.
Very well.
The $1 million is not over a period of 30 years. It's payable up front or at completion of the project. Is that correct, Mr. Dominguez?
It's some kind of set up that way. I believe it'll be phased in prior to construction permits and then prior to CO, sort of 50-50. But yeah, so prior to it opening up, yeah.
And I think everybody needs to remember too that as these pilots are completed, that benefits society in the future, and that benefits the people you're speaking of, like your grandchildren and their children, because our tax rateables are higher at that point, and more money is going into the school system.
Yes.
Can I, yes?
Council President, if I could just respond to Ms. Baldwin's comment. I did not get a request for anything today. I don't know where she sent it or emailed it, maybe to my city email, I didn't see it. I
I
will
sent it to the city email given to me by Ms. Celadon.
Okay, well, I will say for the record, ordinances on first reading, we don't release to the public until they're adopted on first reading for the mere fact that they may be changed or amended before they're actually introduced, okay? As far as the application that the resolution is before you for authorization and acceptance, that is something that's available, and it's a rather large document submitted by the developer detailing the project and the plan and all the numbers and whatnot, and that certainly you can get a copy of. As far as the financial agreement, that is not in final form, and therefore that is not available for the public until it is in a final form.
Which will be on second reading.
No, which will be, assuming the ordinance passes, then that document is created.
Please step, excuse me, please step forward, state your name, spell your last name, and your address for the record.
Sure, my name is Daniel Coughlin. My address is 151 Nielsen Street down the street in Hiram Square. So I just wanted to start by asking, I'm also commenting on the ordinance to approve a long-term tax exemption for the Seer site. So I just wanted to ask, will any of the potential 720 units, will they be for sale, or are they all for rent?
No, there are going to be townhomes for sale.
But they are for sale?
There are 520, I believe, rentals, and the rest are going to be units that are available for sale.
Do you know a basic price point? Do you have like an idea of where it is?
For those that are for sale, I would not, and that will be determined upon market rate at the time of completion of the project.
Do you have an estimate on what percentage of New Brunswick residents will purchase these homes?
That's impossible to say.
I mean, even a broad estimate would be fine.
It's impossible to give you even a broad estimate.
Is it fair to say it's close to zero?
No, I'm not saying that it's fair to say that at all. I'm just saying it's an impossible figure to give you.
Well, I mean, none of them are zoned as affordable, right? And especially in the modern, I mean, just across the street in Highland Park, we just had a series of townhouses go up that went for $700,000 apiece. Is that maybe close to what we're looking at for this project?
I don't think that's the point they're going to be back, but again, it's going to be determined by market rate at the time of completion of the project. If that's normal market rate for units such as that, we're not talking about a luxury project that's going on here. This is market rate housing.
Unfortunately, in the modern market, so I should introduce myself, I'm sorry. So my name is Dan Coughlin. I run I know Mrs. Escobar. I work for New Jersey Community Capital, and along with New Brunswick Tomorrow, I run the first-time homebuyer program for New Brunswick. As well as a series of other programs throughout the state. Most recently, we just did 187 first-time homebuyers in Essex County, more than 80% of whom were Black and Latino families of color, all below 100% of AMI. I have deep concerns, having heard what I heard today, about any of this being possible with this new project. I think that most of the people that I work with are not going to be able to purchase these homes. I'm very concerned, given that the market rate right now, especially, I think we all know that the real estate market at the moment is in serious trouble. There's very, very expensive properties. Low-income persons who can generally afford between $250,000 and $400,000 homes are not going to be able to purchase these homes if they come in above that amount. I think there needs to be serious, substantial consideration given to the fact that that people from New Brunswick should be allowed to buy homes that are built in their area, especially if they carry with them a 30-year tax exemption. I think that it's, I really think that the concerns having been raised already are very valuable and vital. I'm worried that the Housing Authority did the right thing here, and that we're pulling the teeth of the Housing Authority in advance by taking away the carrot of having put together the 30-year tax exemption. I hope that you will all reconsider. That is all I have to say for now, but I appreciate the time.
Thank you for your comments. Please step forward, state your name, spell your last name, and give me your address for the record.
Lakeisha Thomas, last name Thomas, and I live at 7 Livingston Avenue. I'm very concerned about there not being any affordable units. I am from New Brunswick, born and raised. I'm a Rutgers graduate, and when I graduated Rutgers, 10 years later, I had to move into public housing in New Brunswick because that is how much rent is. I could not afford a 2-bedroom apartment for me and my son. I lived there for 5 years. I did not feel safe. I did not feel secure. I had rat infestations twice. It was despicable living in public housing in New Brunswick. And then an opportunity came for me to apply to one of these beautiful buildings downtown. I was denied, and then I was able to move in. My life has changed. Like I said, I have a Rutgers degree and still couldn't afford rent. Now me and my son live in a beautiful, safe apartment only because of affordable housing. No matter how hard I work, I might never be able to afford a two-bedroom in the building that I live in now. And a lot of people in the community that you serve are dealing with the same realities for their life. Adequate housing is not just about housing, it's about the quality of your life. And when you live in a beautiful building or a beautiful neighborhood, you feel safe and you do better and you feel better. And it's better for your children. Why would you deny someone affordable housing? And it's not free housing. Affordable housing, there are income minimums and maximums. People get denied all the time. It's not people who aren't working who can live in affordable housing. It's not low income. These are hardworking people who, like I said, will maybe work their whole lives and still not be able to afford living in some of these beautiful apartments that you guys are letting people build with all of these tax breaks. The people you serve trust you to make ethical and fair decisions on their behalf, not to look out for companies and corporations' best interests. They're good. You don't have to worry about them. Don't allow them to make gains and profits off of our communities without even giving access to these amazing buildings to the underserved in our communities. With power comes responsibility. You are responsible and accountable for the community that you serve, which is people of New Brunswick like myself. Be clear and purposeful about where your loyalties lie. It lies with people like me, not some big shot developer. You can move the city forward without leaving the actual community behind. And if you can't, then this city is moving in the wrong direction.
Good evening, council members. Lilia Fernandez, FERNANDEZ, 11 Cotter Drive. The last time I was in this room was over 2 years ago, when small children were begging the leaders of this city not to tear down their beloved school, which was one of the best schools in the city, Lincoln Annex, which all the folks who run the city went ahead and approved and did, and now it's being used by RWJ. And where are the children? They're in a warehouse. Okay? I'm here because I am very concerned about this long-term tax abatement and the way in which the city government and the people who run it, and by the way, thank you, Mr. Fleming and Mr. Egan, for joining us tonight. The people who run it are giving it away constantly, continuously. It's embarrassing. What is wrong with the people who run the city? I mean, I don't know whose palms are being greased. Who is doing backroom deals, getting kickbacks, to buy your fancy suits or whatever. But there is a housing crisis in this city. You know that people are crowded, 3 families to an apartment. People like the woman who just spoke are struggling to make ends meet. And yet you are constantly approving these projects downtown and now on the Sears location for what? To enrich fat cats, to make them even fatter. Now, I have a question for you all. The Lincoln Annex project, the RWJ project, how many of the construction workers on those sites are New Brunswick residents? Does anyone have that information? Can anyone tell me how many New Brunswick residents have been employed to build the buildings in this town?
You would have to speak to the companies that employ those people.
Okay, then you have no idea, right? So you have not set any requirements you have not leveraged any of your power as the people who represent the city and the residents, the taxpayers, to demand that there be requirements that they hire local residents, that they provide affordable housing, that we get something for our schools. The schools, are abysmal. They're doing nothing with these kids. It's an abomination, and I'm really, really angry that I have to spend my time coming up here to address you all and tell you this, something that is so clear to anyone with any moral conscience, that this is wrong and you should not be doing this.
Well, to that end, excuse me, to that end, there are programs that are utilized with the Robert Wood Johnson project and the Cancer Institute where they're teaching, they're taking children, they're taking members of our community, and they're training them for projects, and so they are
We don't need
using
crumbs.
people.
We need justice. We don't need crumbs. We need the right things. Okay, we need people to do the right thing here.
This is the right thing.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Well, first I'm going to start off with something a little different. I'm going to start off with Resolution 12. I'm very disappointed that the mayor and every one of you to even allow someone to go invite families to go down fishing at the Raritan River, where I provided you with the evidence of how much dead wildlife and wild with all the garbage. But one thing I'm disappointed in, wow, as Captain Miller called for the license plate to see who it was, I knew it was a scam when he called me, ooh, tell me the license plate. But to really think that it wasn't, but wow, to see the city dumping all this crap down here at the Raritan River, and you know that river is gonna flood, please. And one thing I'm going to prove to you where I provided the evidence of it was a city truck that did the dumping already. Now, this is, see, the Lord works with me due to where this came up on my phone a year ago, how the pictures update. This is your city truck from when it was a crash, when you did doing the park over there, when someone took down the light over. This is a year ago, and this is your same. Are you going to give them a ticket? Captain Miller?
Is this in relation to resolution number 12?
Yes. Like I said, with all this dumping, why is the city doing all this dumping down there? The mayor lied, the city lied. What, Captain Miller tried to have me fooled like, oh, he was interested. Oh, what license plate was it?
Number 12 is about a fishing.
Good, yes. Why are you sending people down there with all that garbage, how it stinks down there so bad, but your city employees, the mayor telling them to dump all this belongings? What would you invite people down there for? Well, I just showed you pictures of how many dead fish, wildlife was down there.
Would you like a response? If you'd like a response, I'm going to ask Mr. Johnson if he could, I know they put some measures in place to make sure that everything was safe down there for this event, and if you would please provide us with that.
Yes, once again, my name is Joseph Johnson, and I represent the Department of Human and Community Services. And so just a quick update to your point on the fishing day. It's more of a family fun day. We're getting there. Yeah, we're getting there.
Why do you take my time?
We're getting there. So basically, as of right now, there's actually going to be daily monitoring of the site itself through the Parks Department, as well as some of the other additional departments as well.
Can you please speed up? What is to be done? What are you doing? Testing the water or what?
Do you want a response?
If he's going to kill my time, no, I do not.
I'm going to tell her her time's only when she speaks, not when
No, it's runs.
Right, you changed it.
Yeah, you need to change it back due to where it's not right.
Do you want to hear his response?
Honestly,
You're taking away from her time.
Because it doesn't make any sense.
Okay, well then continue with your comments.
And like I said, you no longer need to be president of down here at council. You don't give people time to speak anymore.
The resolutions at hand.
But like I said, come on, what would you even invite people down there? The sewage, garbage, please, would you take a walk down there and see what it smells like down there? You can't just blame the homeless. Wow, the mayor is allowing city employees dumping all this belongings down there. I ID'd the vehicle, it's the city vehicle.
You have the pictures on the city vehicle?
Oh, yes, I do. Due to where what? Captain Miller was interested, and I said, no, I'm not going to work with you because the Lord's going to work with me. Due to where I had the license plate to match that is your vehicle, yes, I do. It's on Facebook. Please look at Danielle Moore on their Facebook, and you will see all the evidence due to where the city is dumping all these concrete, blacktop, all down to the Raritan River. Please do look at the evidence. I'm very disappointed in you, and I say if you support this, all of you should be punished for sending people down there to go fishing and what, that water's not clean. What, to get someone sick? If it's killing the wildlife, no telling what would it do to the people. Please, all of you need to be punished if you say yes on this. And I will continue forward with the rent due to where you're saying $1,650. It's not affordable. It's not easy, as I said, as Miss Brittany said before. What, sure, I can afford $1,645, but just to get an apartment, what, you have to make $72,000 just to qualify to get this? So it's not easy as you think it is. Well, even if the rent sounds, $1,645.
It's easy because they don't.
Excuse me.
But like I said, due to where, come on, it's not as easy as you think, and a lot of these places are not gonna sell because like I said, it's not whether you can pay it due to where what, just to get a 2-bedroom apartment that was Birchwood Terrace, and I've been telling you, what, I had to get, I don't make $72,000 a year just to get an apartment. So like I said, you're outrageous, and like I said, New Brunswick is already overpopulated. Come on, where you lied and said that what, only 50,000 workers? Excuse me, it was 50,000 residents? That's a bunch of bull. Come on, you don't need any more units.
Thank you for your comments. Before the next speaker, I want to ask Mr. Johnson if he could please say what he was going to say before about the process we're going through now.
So yeah, as of right now, the Environment Commission, the Parks Department, as well as some of the other water utility departments are actually doing daily monitoring of the site itself, cleaning, monitoring the fish, and making sure everything's good for June 4th. That's
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll have the next speaker, please. Please state your name, spell your last name, and give us your address and address.
Good evening, Linda Stork, 12 Park Boulevard,
Excuse
SPOR.
me. Go ahead again, I'm sorry.
Again,
Please, I couldn't hear you.
good evening, my name is Linda Stork, STORK, and my address is 12 Park Boulevard. And I also have been very concerned about the affordable housing component. I had asked about it when it first came up, because I just don't see New Brunswick providing for the next generation. You know, true, some of the kids, you know, move away because their jobs are far, but people who are staying in the area aren't staying in New Brunswick. Once they leave their parents' house, they have to go somewhere else. You know, if they want to have a nice place to live, but they're still not making the big bucks. There's nothing here. There's nothing here, and I think that's a shame. And I think we shouldn't be letting a lot of these big companies and, you know, super landlords buy up all these units. They're willing to pay a lot of money, yeah, because they turn around and rent them to students in neighborhoods that were not student neighborhoods. They know they can get, you know, 5 different incomes from 5 different sets of parents and charge an exorbitant rent. So they're willing to pay an exorbitant price. But
The
we're not.
tax exemptions for a project in the Seer redevelopment area, that it's not supposed to be, or it's not, they're not planning on it to be student housing.
Right, but so they're getting a tax exemption,
But
which
you were
will
speaking-
bypass the public school system,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But they're not going to be students.
It's not student housing. You were just speaking about student housing. This is not student housing.
So none of these people have kids?
I'm not sure who's going to rent it at this point.
So should we really be bypassing the public school system with this money?
You do realize that when these come to fruition, the tax base does increase and the school system does receive money from these.
No, the school system does not. The
Yes,
city
it does.
gets to
Once the pilot is over and the regular tax
Oh,
kicks in.
after 30 years.
Right, but as we have these, excuse me, as they're staggered and they come to fruition, they come through at different times. So it's not like every pilot program we have in New Brunswick is on the same 30-year schedule. Like for instance, we just had 4 come from in 2017, 2019, 2020. There were 2 of them. So these come into play all the time. The tax base is raised, and the schools do get taxes from it.
Were they 30?
Excuse me, if you're not up here in the microphone, please do not
I've
speak.
worked in our public schools for over 30 years. We really can't afford a 30-year delay to get the money to the schools. Trust me when I tell you. Not only that, 30 years only means it comes up again. Look at Providence Square. Their 30 years came up and you hit them up with another 30 years. What? Were they going to leave if they didn't get it? Come on. We don't have to, you know, bribe people to come invest in New Brunswick anymore. It's a lucrative place. It's a wonderful place. I love living here, but I would like to see more people be able to enjoy living here. More regular people to enjoy our great city. I think that's only right and fair, that there could be a whole project with no affordable housing. We're not even talking low income. Just affordable. So what does that tell you? If there's 0% affordable, 100% not affordable. It's not affordable for average people. And it's just not fair. That's my comment on that.
Thank you. Hi, please state your name, spell your last name, give us your address for the record.
Termel Pittman, that's my P-I-T-T-M-A-N. And the young lady, one of the young ladies that was speaking mentioned the fact that she said you guys in expensive suits, and it just brought me back to when I seen Egan and Nordstrom buying that expensive suit. I said, that was the time he said he didn't like the
You were in there too, weren't you?
Yeah. You had the suits in your hand. Yeah. Obviously, listen, obviously I couldn't afford it because I left with this and you still got that suit. So you see who bought what. But I think I've gained a reputation and attention from being able to pull common sense out of complicated issues. I think politics is always complicated. And that's why the average person never comes down to these meetings, because I think you deliberately make things complicated. And I think that that's a tactic that you can control, because you can continue to control the people. Because most people who work in New Brunswick, the average income is $43,000, right? Studio apartment, $1,600 to $1,800. Okay. Now a lot of you city employees can't barely afford to. The people that you employ can't even afford to live in the apartment buildings that you're about to put up.
That's true.
So that means, I mean, if you're not even considering the people that you employ, then imagine the people that work here day to day. Like, I just challenge you guys, and I was here for a whole different reason. My real reason somebody forced me to come down here. For one, did you guys give a moment of silence to the Buffalo Massacre? Did you give a moment of silence to the massacre that happened in Buffalo, New York?
No, not this evening.
You guys aren't focused. And that's a shame, because New Brunswick just a year or so ago had a massacre. 8 people shot, 2 people dead.
Can you please go back to the resolution?
No, listen, let me speak. All right? So, if you do that again, I'll come down here every council meeting for the next year. So let me speak. I haven't been here for 2 years.
No, I understand.
Now, do you want me to come every Wednesday?
I'm just describing it as a public.
Do you want me to come every Wednesday? Don't be disrespectful to me. I'll pull a year out on you easy. I gave you guys 3 years and not showing up. So let me get 5 minutes. Thank you. Let's get back to the people who afford it. For one, I think that city employees should have the 17th of June off. If you do history in our transatlantic slave trade, I think that the Brunswick employees should have the 17th of June off. It's Juneteenth. It's recognized federally and it's recognized statewide. And it's optional to local municipalities. And you guys elected to not give the employees the 17th of June off.
Right.
Which is tragic. But the median income is $43,000. And that's a stretch. And you guys are going to approve this. Regardless of what these people come in here and say, you guys are going to approve it because it's already predestined.
Right.
But I challenge you to get up early in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. One of you guys hang out on French Street. One of you guys hang out on Commercial. One of you guys hang downtown. And you see the people who are getting up and commuting to work every day, and ask yourself honestly, can these people afford to stay in those homes? Because we talk about people, right? We talk about, the black community, the Latino community, and how, we have to shack up together to afford to live in New Brunswick. You got 3 or 4 people in 1 bedroom. And here the city that they patronize and pay into is putting a building there that they can't even afford. So the teenage young lady, she can't afford to move out on her own. She's working a 9 to 5. She may have a significant other working a 9 to 5. And them two together still can't afford to live in New Brunswick. It's simple. I don't like complicated politics. You guys are evil. You guys are evil.
For real.
And those titles won't take away from that evilness. So anything you do, when you go home and you lie down, right, because I'm a person that, I know the subconscious is real. The subconscious is powerful. Whatever your conscious mind says, whatever excuse you try to give, those 15 seconds before you go to sleep, the true you addresses you. Your conscious mind records one thing, but your subconscious mind can only record the truth. And I think you should go with what your subconscious mind tells you when you lay down tonight. Thank you.
Is there anyone else for the resolutions only at this portion of the meeting?
Hi, Angela Lugo, L-U-G-O. I live in 6 Cotter Drive. And I've been living in New Brunswick for about 25 years. But before that, in the 80s, I came and worked part-time for the Housing Authority to get rid of all the poor houses where now you have Hiram Square and other places. And yes, they did give people, I think at that time, something like $1,500. It depended on how many rooms. But in the years that I've been here, I have found that working class people have been moved further and further away from the city center. And living in the city center is important because if I can't afford a car, then I need transportation. I need to be able to walk, okay? I have not really seen that the city of New Brunswick has taken into account what really is the backbone of America, which is working class people. You know, and one thing I think I agree with the prior speaker. My father always said that if you work for a paycheck, you're working class. It didn't matter if you made $100,000, $200,000, because you're living paycheck by paycheck. And most of you are working class, but you've forgotten what it is to be at the bottom, struggling to survive. And I think it is, you know, in a time where we're a deeply religious nation, all of a sudden, that we are so deeply unspiritual. And that we are giving money to a company who is going to make millions while we don't have people who can afford to live in the town that maybe they were born and raised in. And so I'm here to say I'm deeply saddened by the city of New Brunswick that we are giving money, my money, because I'm a taxpayer, to a company who is not going to, oh yeah, $1 million, it's like in the 80s. Where did the money for affordable housing go? You had 3 or 4 apartments, and that was it. That didn't take care of the problem. And we've forgotten the working class people. And without us, this country is nothing. Thank you.
Alexandria Harris with 1 R, H-A-R-I-S. I'm originally from Sayreville. I'm a renter in New Brunswick going into my 3rd year because I study at Rutgers University. I've been on and off food stamps ever since I've been 11 and still trying to get back on it, and I would be like interested in owning my own space, 1 studio apartment, right? But I can't do that. But also that housing should go to like priority to like the people, the residents, like the long-term residents and the employees of the city. I would love to continue living in New Brunswick and be a long-term resident, but it's just really intriguing to see the values being misplaced, the priorities being misplaced. Because like, sure, like you have this rule where like if you do 1 payment, you don't have to do affordable housing. That's a rule that you could change. You could definitely change it. The middle class is shrinking, and this is just another act to just chop the middle class. This is gonna negatively impact the community pride that you have here, that is shrinking by the day. Every day when you have new development. You just mentioned like, was it 2016, 2017, 2019, whatever, and they have 30-year brackets. Yes, it's staggered, but it's still a long time. That's 30 years, that's a generation. That's a generation that is missing out on that money that could be needed right now. That's why That's why possibly why Robert Wood Johnson knocked down that school and that school had to be moved around to a brown site. That didn't have to happen if the school had that funding, right? Or it's just like, papers or just food, like in the school lunches, I imagine that could be possibly improved. Or advocacy for bus lanes that everyone needs, including me who does not have a car and can't afford one because I don't even have food stamps. I can't afford my food. So it's just like, why are 700 units of apartments being built and not inclusive of the community that's been living here? This is Hope City. This is Esperanza. This is the Hope City. You make it Hub City because you want to welcome the millionaires. You want to make it a pit stop between Philadelphia and New York City. We see that. We see that. Which is why we see that hole in the ground by the train station. Like, why? As someone said, just just when you go to sleep, when you first wake up, does it sound right? Maybe it's like, okay, you want to welcome more people, you want to bring in commerce in. But to what point is commerce being the first priority ever going to help? It doesn't help to some degree. The basic needs of people need to be met first. So again, I stand against this housing project, and it would be great if you made it, oh my gosh, wow, a cooperative. People own the studios, the apartments. Wow, how radical would that be? That'd be so great if you switched around and did that. But facetiousness aside, that would be a great idea. And New Brunswick, come on, the news coverage, that would be some padding on your resumes. If you don't think of that as appealing. But again and again, year and year, this is my 3rd year living here, and I just don't see people being taken care of. And this is one act of that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please state your name, spell your last name, and give your address for the record.
Marge Kerber, Kerber, 2 Comstock Street, right here in New Brunswick. And I'm just gonna, what other people said, I agree. You're building 700 apartments. I have lived in this city for over 25 years. I've owned a home for 23 of those years, okay? Prior to that, I lived in a condo at the infamous Renaissance Station, okay? However, I have seen in the last, I don't know how many years, all these high-rises go up, okay, for all these people with a lot of money, okay? And I never see anything going up for working class people. My other problem is, well, there's a couple of them, but I was late coming here, okay, and I apologize, but the reason for that is because there's so much damn traffic in New Brunswick that you can't get from one side of the city to the other side of the city. And now you're going to add 700 more apartments, okay, none of which are going to be affordable. So, this just amazes me. Last time I was here, you talked about the lack of inspectors for housing, okay? I look around in my neighborhood and I can see there's a lack of inspectors because the houses are falling down, okay? Why don't you spend your money instead of this redevelopment plan on helping people fix up their houses and making them look decent, okay? I don't even like coming to downtown. That's another problem, is the litter on the streets. The city is filthy. I talk to friends of mine, they say, oh, why do we want to come to New Brunswick? It's a filthy city. There's graffiti all over the place, okay? And you can't get from spot A to spot B in less than a half an hour, which is true. It took me over 25 minutes to get from Livingston Avenue, North Brunswick, okay, to here. That's crazy. And you want to build more apartments, and none of them are affordable. We have a lot of people in this city that, what has been said before, that would love to live in this city, okay? That work in this city, that would love to live here, but they can't afford it, okay? Because you keep building these apartments that people can't afford. Why? Why? Why don't you want to attract local people to stay here? I don't get it. I don't get it at all, okay? As I say, I've lived here for 23 years, okay? And I look around my neighborhood, and there's slumlords all over the place, okay, that are getting away with murder. And you don't do anything about that, okay? You don't do anything at all about the trash cans that are filled up on Livingston Avenue and overflowing. You don't do anything about the graffiti, but here we go, we're gonna build more apartments at the old Seer spot, okay? For people that will be coming from out of town and not living here and not spending their money here. Thank you. You know, I just like somebody else said, you're toxic. The city council is toxic. Is the mayor still alive? I mean, I haven't even seen him. I know he's running for re-election because he's on the primary, so he's on the ticket he's on the ballot for the primary. But is he? Who sees him? You know, who sees this man? What does he do? And all you do, okay, is give tax exemptions away. You know, like it's free, like it's I don't know what. It's free to anybody that wants to build something in New Brunswick. They get a tax exemption. You know, I don't know how you sleep at night. I really don't. Because it's a very sad state of affairs when your school system stinks, okay? The streets are filthy. And I was just talking to one of the police department captain, I forget his name, the other day, who stopped by my house, but saying, you know, it used to be a nice place to live. And now I don't know about that. You know, I'm still here. I don't plan on leaving. One of these days I will, but you know, I'm fortunate enough to have a nice house in a nice fairly nice neighborhood, except when there's shootings. But other than that, I'm going to shut up. Okay, I had my say, but I just cannot believe that you are letting a developer build more apartments and none of them are going to be affordable. Shame on you.
The resolutions only at this point? Seeing none?
What's the, again, the affordable housing money that's required?
$1,500 per unit.
1,500 times 720?
Right, 1,080,000, I think it comes to.
And it goes to affordable housing.
Affordable housing and community programs, wherever they see fit, and will be at the housing authority's discretion to utilize that money as they see fit throughout the community.
Move the resolutions.
Did we put in more than the minimum?
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Egan,
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming,
Yes, abstain on 22.
duly noted. Council Vice President Escobar,
Yes, and abstaining on 22.
duly noted. Council President Secor Ludwig.
Yes. Do any members of the council have anything they'd like to address this evening?
No, we weren't here. Somebody had mentioned that we didn't mention have a moment of silence for what happened in Buffalo. I wasn't here because I was on my way home from work. I do work a day job and extended a little bit farther. I heard somebody say yesterday, they were talking about every time something like this happens, there's thoughts, there's prayers, and then we move on from something like that. But then also heard somebody say that they're killing our regular people. You know, they're killing our regular people. These were people just out shopping, just wanted to do something for their families, and they were shot because of white supremacy. And we have to bring that to, we can't say that, we can't look and say this person was mentally ill. We can't just put Russia under the rug and say we can't push for more gun laws, push for less gun laws, because every time we say this is not the time to start talking about more gun laws. When is the time to start talking about it? When the next shooting comes around? This is the exact time to start talking about things like that, because it can happen anywhere. You know, you can be out at Walmart, you can be out at a store, all of a sudden somebody that has some hatred against you can shoot you. So we do need to acknowledge it. I wasn't here, like I said, I wasn't here earlier, but I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention, that we do need to have a conversation about first of all, about what brought that about, which was white supremacy. And we have to name it and tag it each and every time something like that happens, and not say, okay, this was mental health, let's study mental health, because if the shooter was another color, they wouldn't give a damn about his mental health, he would have been dead right there, and they wouldn't have brought him out. So that's all.
Thank you, Councilman Anderson. Well, now, excuse me, we're now going to open up the floor for public comment. You have one time up for 5 minutes. If you please step forward to the microphone,
say it's sad to see that, wow, you no longer record the public while doing city council videos. The video is only on the council. I say that's horrible, but like I say, honestly, New Brunswick, please do not make Ms. Suzanne Sikora-Ludwig president again. She has been the worst president out of the city council since I've been coming here. And like I said, to not allow questions, to take away time. As you can see, to move the meeting to 5 o'clock, wow, how many did you see late coming? Due to where eventually you need to put it back to 5:30, due to where people are just getting off of work, Mr. Egan, Mr. Fleming, and others as well. You need to honestly put it back to 5:30. One thing I will start off with saying, due to where, with all this building, it all has to do with you're a bunch of scammers. Due to where I was wondering whose house this was, 351 Somerset Street, due to where the road was blocked off all week, due to where I believe this is to what you put the resolution for, for a two-family to upgrade to a four-family. Is this Mr. Joe Catanese, someone who's your best friend, to allow them to build a house, another huge house in their backyard? So is this what? You see the evidence right there, due to where what? Wow. So is that 351A and now 351B? Why? Is that because of it's your buddy, someone that you know? Where you really, yeah, please do take the picture. You know I'm going to provide the evidence. Yeah, yes, indeed. Please. How you allow, like I said, people, you're a bunch of scammers. Yeah, you're smiling, but like I said, you're a bunch of scammers and all you do is employ each other, money in your pocket. To build, like I said, to build another house in the back of the 351, I meant a huge house in the backyard. How do you even allow that? Why? Just because he's Joe Catanese, he worked with you guys before? Huh? And then I will say whoever the scammer is that recorded me over Mr. Rainey, 42 Comstock Street, saying, ooh, and then sent the video total on me. Now, due to where with the fire department passing inspection, saying, ooh, this is an electric pipe, and like I said, that was not an original two-family house, and due to where they had to cut the electric gas line, to put a stove in? Like I said, it's not legal. And like I said, all these rich people that you're a part of, where you're teaming up to let them do things illegal, like I said, it's time for all of you to go. Because when it comes to a kitchen, you don't build no kitchen cabinets over no electric heater. This was never a two-family, and like I said, due to where, whose buddy is it? Is that your buddy, Mr. Shammy? Huh? Rainey on Pine Street, due to where, I got the message due to where, yeah, my sister came back and told me where he recorded me. But like I said, getting back to the city, are you going to ticket, are you going to fine Mayor Cahill for having his employees dumping all this garbage down at the Rtfnb River? You were concerned then, Captain Miller. Are you going to do it now? No questions, Like I said, I knew it was a scam when you called. Like I said, I can see things for a reason. Due to where, like I said, I will get back to you as well. Due to where, wow, I love that you and your officers have me on a tracker with my phone to let me see that, ooh, I can see every police car out there. But wow, if you were really doing something, I'd make sure I'd be walking 20 hours through New Brunswick. But what are you doing? Nothing. New Brunswick Police Department is being paid to sit on their rear end. And I'm heartbreaking. You see North Brunswick out there giving tickets? Please look up how many motor vehicle crashes, 60 to 100 this year already? How many motor vehicle crashes? Why? What is the police department doing? Like I said, if he would stop judging people by the color of their skin, targeting black people, wow, you made sure you made my nephew was notice, driving no license, but wow, and then one thing, due to where, wow, you got a tracker on my phone, I fooled you and your crew on April 23rd. I told my nephew, ooh, come get me. Wow, by the time I come to there, you had two police cars, a detective behind me, police car in front, a detective, but wow, it wasn't my nephew driving. So like I said, keep on digging to try to get something to find me. I don't break the law, because like I said, pretty soon somebody's going to be digging for you too and doing paperwork on you soon too, with all the hate and racist that you are really called in through New Brunswick. Due to where, like I said, if everybody was treated not by the color of their skin, and New Brunswick Police Department and the mayor will follow the law, New Brunswick will be a much better place.
Thank you for your comments. Next, please.
About something that Ms. Moore said, Mr. Shammy, there's some allegations that she's saying about Mr. Kennedy. Did we do anything that it was?
Not to my knowledge, everything, the approvals were sought through the necessary channels of the city. He's a property owner. He shouldn't be treated any differently, in my understanding he
Another
wasn't.
property owner who wanted to do the same thing,
Right,
that would have been the same
exactly.
process?
It's an apartment above a garage. It's not a new structure, to my knowledge. I mean, I've never seen it, but I know that it exists. It's where his uncle's house. He built an apartment for his daughter, is what I understand.
It probably was a zoning application.
Right.
It had to go through the zoning board for approval. Next, please.
Okay. Linda Stark, 12 Park Boulevard. I'm glad some of these kids will be able to stay in New Brunswick. Starting with the time of the meeting. It wouldn't have mattered tonight because I came straight from the dentist, but I did check the time before I went to the dentist, and I looked up online and it said 5:30. I was shocked when the meeting was like in full session. I got here at 5:27. I said, great, I made it. No,
Ms. Alazan, can you please just look into that for me?
what?
Yeah,
Yes.
you did. I just want to mention that I noticed late also that somehow the online said 5:30. That's right. She's correct.
Thank you. We'll have it corrected.
Proofreading.
So the next thing I wanted to talk about was we've been bringing it up for a while now, all through COVID on the phone. We started to sound like a broken record. The gun violence, and all we heard is excuses like, oh well, it's happening everywhere. Oh well, we're not the only ones with this problem. That's not good enough. That doesn't mean we can't try, because yeah, during COVID, gun violence went up. But I read about all these things that other places are trying to reduce the gun violence. We have to identify the problem. We can't be afraid to say how many crimes have involved guns and act like that's some kind of classified information. That should be obviously public knowledge, easily accessible as it is in the surrounding towns. And then, because if you won't acknowledge there's a problem, that's the first step to doing something about it. And then something needs to be done. We need to try something. Get some kind of a commission on gun violence with community members, police, clergy, whoever would want to work on this problem and try something. If it doesn't work, we try something else, but we have to try. This is not acceptable. As was pointed out, just 1 year ago, we had our own mass shooting, which nobody for some reason wanted to call a mass shooting. 9 people were shot a couple blocks from my house. The same block my daughter's godfather lived on. Well, and 2 of them died. And, no, it wasn't a grocery store, but, they were just going to a party, which is what young people do a lot of times. And not only that, all this happened outside. So, for anybody walking by, I often cut through there, through St. Peter's from where I live, through their parking lot to go anywhere. There's restaurants in the neighborhood and different things that you would walk to, unless you're afraid you're going to get shot, because then there was nothing said. No condolences from the mayor, no, nothing. Nothing was done. It was as if it hadn't happened. It was unbelievable to me. Unbelievable to me. The other thing, changing gears entirely, but there's a lot going on these days. There's another power plant already been approved in Woodbridge. Now, we already are getting all the pollution from the first one, which, by the way, produces enough electricity for all of Middlesex County 2 times over. The one they already have. They just got approved by Woodbridge to build another one and double. Well, I think maybe it's the carbon dioxide, one thing doesn't double. But other of those noxious, toxic chemicals, some of them are 5 times greater than the previous plant, some of them are 4 times greater. So this is a private, foreign-owned company coming in here to make a profit off of us, basically, and especially the kids that have to breathe this. We are totally in their zone. We're only 4 miles, 5 miles, depending on where you are in New Brunswick, from this stuff that's totally toxic stuff that's being spewed out. I saw just during the time I was teaching, the difference in like the kids that had the rates of children with asthma and everything. That's what it's from. It's from breathing this ozone and crap that we don't need, this power.
Thank you for your comments. Your time has expired.
Can I just say that if you would make some kind of resolution, because it hasn't been passed by the DEP. So if they can see how many towns, a lot of towns are passing resolutions against it. So
Thank you, Ms. Thorpe.
if New Brunswick could do something like that?
Can we have the next speaker, please? Please state your name again for the record.
Marge Kerber, 2 Comstock Street. I just want to know if you got an answer for me on the Nixal Alerts.
Yeah, I did. I made a statement before. There are certain
Yeah,
parameters.
I'm sorry I wasn't here.
There are certain parameters, I will answer this because you weren't here. There are certain parameters that the police department uses to maintain the integrity of the system. They don't just put out alerts if there's not a threat to the community. And so that's how they use
So
their
shooting is
system.
not a threat.
If it was a contained situation, they can make the determination of whether there is a threat to the society. They do not want people looking at the Nixal system and having alerts all the time and then ignoring them because there's not something, because they don't feel it's important anymore. I'm explaining to you the way the system operates, and that was your answer that I gave before.
Well, when did it change? Because it was not always like that. I have Nixal Alerts from a little bit over a year ago about shootings, okay? About one right on 111 Nickel Avenue and a couple other ones. And then all of a sudden they stopped. So why did they stop? That's my other question, okay? And now, there's certain parameters, okay? So if a street is closed because of construction, that's okay. You can send out a Nixal, okay? But if there's a missing person, you can send out a Nixal. But if there's a shooting, you don't. That makes no sense whatsoever, okay? And amazingly enough, okay, because I found this out since the last time I was here, is that Rutgers sends out Nixal Alerts, okay, for every campus except for Douglas Cook, okay? As a matter of fact, my neighbors have sent me the ones that they got for Livingston and, what's the other? Livingston Bush, because there was a crime on Hose Lane and Piscataway. They got a Nixal about that, okay? They get Nixals when there's something going on College Avenue. We are the only campus that does not get any Nixal. So to me, this makes no sense whatsoever, okay? Whether there's certain parameters or not, I'm going to continue on this. I'm going to continue this. You're going to see me every 2 weeks going on about this, because to me, I want, Lindy mentioned all the crime. Well, if we don't know about it, we can't do anything about it, can we? Okay? And I didn't know at all about this shooting until 3 days after the fact, okay? And then there was one like a couple weeks before that on Jones, a few other blocks, okay? I think as a homeowner and as Rutgers students need to know what's going on in their neighborhood. I'm sorry. I just don't understand why you can't. And I've talked to a couple of police captains about this, and I'm going to continue. I've sent letters out. I'm going to continue to going on about this, because to me, it's totally ridiculous that you cannot send alerts out. You don't want people to get too excited. Well, excuse me, but I'll get excited. The shooting was 4 doors down from my house. Wouldn't you get excited? Wouldn't you get nervous? Wouldn't you like to know if something happened in your neighborhood? Wouldn't you like to know if something happened in your neighborhood? Mr. Shamey, would you like to know if something happened in your neighborhood? Yeah, okay. Egan, would you like to know? Yeah, I'm sure you would all like to know. Well, how come we don't know in New Brunswick? How come you keep it a deep, dark secret? That's what I want to know. because to me, it's amongst the other things in this city that are very shameful, and very, you know, it just amazes me. It just amazes me how down and deep and dirty you've gotten in the 23 years that I've lived here. Thank you.
Next speaker, please. Alexandria Harris, last name spelled Haris with one R. From Sayreville, I rent at 32 Sedan Street, New Brunswick. 4 things that I wanted to say was that, 1, Councilman Fleming, I like your water bottle. Speaking of sustainability, so for every licensed person there is, that is 1 car. So with the units that you bring in wealthier people, that's at least 725 drivers. But if they have a partner that lives in the same unit, let's just say all of them are couples, right? Are in love, so that's about 1,450 cars. That's more traffic, and public transit, not so good here. So I wanted to also talk about the empty lot that was passed for mixed use. I think it's like 251 or 256. It's between Bravo's and like the barber shop with like, I think, residential on top. I wanted to know, what are you addressing about the informal shelter that's there like at the end of that lot?
I can take your comments under advisement and continue with anything you have to say.
Right, so you guys haven't addressed that. There's a lot of homelessness issue. Was it like in 2020, you guys declined a Code Blue grant? That's money that could have been helped and resolved this issue here. And then also goes back to the 30-year tax rate. I'm not so familiar with the tax code here, but if some of that money goes to the schools and some of the rest of the money goes to the city, that could house people. So my 3rd item for public comment is the Keesby gas plant. So it's owned by, I think it's an Israeli company, right? Okay, what? Apartheid? No. My dad escaped the Nazi regime, right? Rest in peace, but like, he was not supportive of Israel, and I'm not, even in my personal opinion, no. Like, come on. And like, PCG is dropping out of the gas game, and the Jersey plan is to go into solar and wind. Why do we need another gas plant? It's not in our neighborhood. But the pollutants are going to be in our neighborhood and in my body. Maybe if I have a kid, in their body, in everyone else's body here, especially in Perth Amboy. So I also would like for you guys to consider a resolution in opposition against this plant, because it will impact not just New Brunswick, but also Fort, but also Sayreville, but also East Brunswick, New Brunswick, North Brunswick. There's Metuchen, Highland Park. So many people. My next item is also to talk about the meeting time of the city council meetings. 5:30, that's way too early. That's like crack of dawn for council meetings. Like, no, hardly anyone who's like working can meet here. Like, if you're working at 9 to 5, then you have like a 30-minute commute, or a 40-minute commute, or an hour commute if you're coming from the city. Then you gotta maybe freshen up, gotta like, come back and feel alive again. You gotta come here. Can we like push back to 7? I ask. And then also like the shooting. So like, what was it, last year, 2 years ago, there was a shooting right outside my apartment on the corner of Jones and Sedan Street. I did not get a notification. I was the one who called it in. And there were shellings on the road. I didn't get a notification for that shooting. I got a notification for the one on Nicole, but I did not get a notification for the one that's right outside my building. So I guess there's some discrepancy in notifying people when there's instances of danger. I think Rutgers does a pretty good job, but like, Rutgers is not New Brunswick. The people in New Brunswick are New Brunswick. So that's all for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Yes, can you need me to repeat my name?
Please.
Lilia Fernandez, Fernandez, 11 Potter Drive.
Thank you.
So I wanted to simply echo the support for asking the City Council to pass a resolution opposing the Woodbridge power plant. People have already explained reasons why, but I just want to reiterate that this is going to bring an incredible amount of toxins, sulfuric acid, particulate matter, into the air that we breathe, into the air that New Brunswick's children breathe. They and the elderly are the most vulnerable. So it would be really great if the city council could speak out against this and put this on the record and do something to defend the people of New Brunswick. Now, to the comment that Ms. Councilmember Fleming made about the Buffalo shooting, very heartfelt, you know, very important to recognize what's happened there, but I would say that it takes much more courage to acknowledge the violence that's occurring in this city against Black and brown children. New Brunswick is 51%, at least 51% Latino. Where are the interests of the children and the community being represented here? The interests of the 12 to 14% African Americans in this town. White supremacy is not just something far away where some deranged, you know, white nationalist goes and shoots people because of some deranged theory. It's also here when you see the enormous economic inequality, which you've heard about repeatedly from numerous people in the audience. People cannot afford to live here. Who is going to be mowing your lawns, busting your tables at the restaurants, doing your dry cleaning, doing all the work that you require when they cannot afford to live here? You know that there are many employers without workers right now. Why? Because people are fed up of getting paid $15 an hour and not being able to afford a place to live. And if this city, which already lets Rutgers and RWJ skate on by without paying taxes, is going to continue to give it away, give this land away to all kinds of real estate developers, then you can expect that the population is going to empty out, and no one's going to be riding NJ Transit for 2 hours a day to come here to bus your tables at the restaurants, or clean the hotel rooms, or mow your lawns, or care for your children, etc., etc. So I urge you, please, to think about the economic inequality that you are continuing to perpetuate in New Brunswick and how unattractive you are making this place for regular working people.
Hi again.
Hi.
This is Brittany. My last name, Richardson, R-I-C-H-A-R-D-S-O-N. I live in New Brunswick on Livingston Avenue. I just wanted to come here today because I thank you for the comedy show. Nobody has answers here. Nobody responds to anything, but I have to attend meetings on my free time when I work for this city. We will be performing a strike. I will not tell you when, but you will see how much garbage that will be in the streets. You guys were more interested of going downtown, calling down to where I work to find out why am I coming down here. You guys, that's a form of harassment. You sent me a letter, you. When I came to you when I first started here, I told you about the discrimination and the things that were going on in the city. Even at my own workplace, I'm the only woman, the only African-American woman. I sat down with you and Jennifer Bradshaw, and I told you how I felt. I didn't feel comfortable. I wasn't being accepted by the city or the people that I work with. We get harassed and racial comments from certain areas that you may live in, because they don't like the fact that the trucks are old, it's wasting garbage juice, it's trash flying in the streets. We get all of that because you guys are using the money for other things instead of pouring it into the sanitation department. Why were we not paid hazard pay? We were out here during COVID picking up your garbage. I'm sick. I am done. Whatever they post this on, I'm going to keep going until it's on channel 12, channel 7. All of you need, shame on you. Shame. Shame. I came here the first meeting humble because I thought that you guys were going to do something, and you did nothing but add to the harassment. You think I'm scared because you want to take my job? Do you think I'm scared because you guys, or like they tell me at work, I got a target on my back now because I'm coming down here to address you? Do what you may. I am not just a regular employee here. I'm a co-owner of my father's trucking company that I've been running since 12 years old. This is not anything new. I know how things are supposed to be run, and the way this city is doing it is illegal. For one truck to be taken 2 times going to the dump, one truck, and you have 4 to 5 trucks with 20 tons of garbage. Each truck is ridiculous. It's overpopulated, and we're not using machines, we're using our bodies to pick it up. Your daughters, your granddaughters, your wives, your sisters are not doing what I'm doing. I know what I signed up for, but it's a shame that I have to even waste my time coming here. You guys are getting these questions from these people, you don't have any answers. And then you want to stare at me and like, I gotta have why you got an attitude? Because you got your fancy cars and your fancy house, and I can barely afford a damn apartment in this city. We're struggling. But when I lead the strike, I'm telling you from my mouth, in 2 days, I promise you, you'll have to pay the contractor company that you pay for the recycling that gets paid twice our salary. You're going to regret that garbage you're going to see out there. And I hope you get a jersey like this and you come and help pick it up. I doubt it, but I hope you come pick it up. People at our company have been hit by cars. A guy lost his job for defending himself. Somebody tried to hit and run, and he tried to stop the car, and the police made it seem like, the city made it seem like he was just fighting a random resident, and he was working here for 9 years. I got hurt on the job twice, and I came to you. I got hurt twice, because you know why? It was so much garbage. I was out there till almost 7 o'clock at night picking up garbage. It was too much. Downtown gets picked up 7 days a week. All those businesses. How is so much garbage? You need 7 days a week? No days off? You bought up the $95,000 dump truck? I don't use that. You don't use that. I've never even seen this truck he's talking about. These trucks have been there for over 20 years. You don't even drive your car that long. And you want me to pick up garbage? You want me to come to Rutgers Village and let that garbage waste fall on your streets? Or wherever you live at, and that stench? We're picking up dead animals over there for the police department. They're not telling you that. The fire department, they ride around smiling. I'd smile too if my salary every year was what they making. I don't even make a portion of that. We get laughed at. Modern day slavery. Yes. Modern day slavery. And 5 minutes is not enough time to put the shame on you. I came here humble and respectful, thinking you're going to look into it, and you did nothing. You did nothing. We're going to strike. You watch and see.
Please state your name and address for the record.
First of all, my name is Joseph Dees, D-E-A-S.
Thank you.
I live in Somerville, but I grew up and was born in New Brunswick. I have a question. Are we considered essential workers?
No, we're not. We're black.
Are we considered essential workers?
No.
They treat you as slaves.
Another question. Another question.
No.
If we are considered essential workers, why are we compensated for that? We need to be compensated for that. Now, without us, you guys will have garbage, whatever, in front of your porches, in front of your houses. No one up here will do that, period. Now, if I was living here and we switched, everyone up here, we switched, you will not understand the struggle that it is to have a salary that's not a livable situation. So if I came to you and said, let's switch, you do my job, I do your job. Would you like it? Would you like it? Would you like it with the pay that we receive? Would you like it with the essential payment that we were supposed to receive that we did not receive? But I'm going to tell you this. We were told, forget about New Brunswick. Take care of Rutgers Village.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
All you care about.
All you care about.
Take care of Rutgers Village.
Why? Because the mayor lives here. No disrespect to you, Mr. Philly, but the mayor lives there.
It's lovely and present to live there too.
We were told that twice.
And the city of New Brunswick mixed their salt with sand. You didn't even have enough money to pay for the salt for New
Now-
Brunswick.
Please,
No, you
Now-
please.
I'm
Now-
asking for quiet.
Yeah,
Now,
you too.
I will say this too. When things get turned around, like such as Ms. Richards and I, we get a target on our back
Absolutely.
from downtown who says, who are these people coming down here? Just phone calls. Who are these people coming down here with all this ruckus? Aren't we supposed to fight for what we desire?
No, we're supposed to be serious.
You fight for what you desire, and you get what you desire. But when we fight for what we like, oh, we problem people. We start in trouble. That's not cool. Because not one of, I'm assuming, not one of you lived in New Brunswick except for Mr. Fleming.
We do. I live on Redwood Street, just to let you
Am I right or am I wrong? Correct me,
Every
please.
single one of us live in New Brunswick, you have to.
Yeah,
Well, you have to. You have to,
Yeah, what part?
but you're compensated.
Yeah, what part?
Not.
You're compensated. You can't say that you're not.
Council is a paid position.
You're compensated regardless. Okay, if you're not, then where does the money go when it's time for us to get paid?
And you know,
I did, and I succeeded to a couple people, I'm not.
Do you understand what I'm coming from?
I do.
Where does the money come from the state that comes to us to do what you need to do with your employees and what you need to receive, what you need to do? We don't get nothing. Where did that money go? Now you say, we bought trucks. That money doesn't go to us. That goes to you guys. Okay? That money goes to you guys. You say you bought a truck, whatever. Yes, you did buy a truck. But we're essential workers. That money is supposed to come to us. Every other county does. Every other county does. And you guys know it. You guys know it.
Like I said, Mayor Cahill doesn't believe in Juneteenth, like I told you earlier.
Just state your name, spell your last name, the floor is yours.
Charlie Cradle, Kratovil. For 10 years, this council recorded their meetings and posted the video recordings to the city website. Why aren't you turning the camera to face the public now? And why didn't you release the video from the last meeting?
I'm not sure why the video wasn't released, but there is audio on that microphone, so all of the public is captured.
So again, why? You don't know why you're not releasing the videos?
I don't know, Mr. Brown, is there a reason why the video was not released from the last meeting yet?
Sure, the meeting from a couple weeks ago exceeded our weekly limit for our account where we upload our videos. We're allowed a certain allotment of gigabytes of video per week, and it slightly exceeded that limit. And in getting the information out in a timely fashion to the public, I went with an audio-only version, which I could turn around much quicker.
Thank you.
And I noticed that tonight, Mr. Barron's not turning the camera to face the public. Why is that? Does the council ask him not to show us?
The camera is focused on the council, but you can be heard by audio in the recordings.
Did you ask him to do that? To stop showing the public?
This is not a place for people to come perform for a camera. This is a place to address the council. The business is up here.
Why did you change the practice that had been in place for a decade?
Because there
It
were.
sounds like you did change.
I did change.
And good, it's time for you to watch your performance.
So I think that, there's still good reasons for folks to want to participate in these meetings, even if they can't come here. Obviously, 2 of the council members were unable to be here on time tonight, and you've moved the meetings to 5 o'clock. You've stopped the remote access that was in place during the pandemic, and at the last meeting you said that it would be illegal to offer a call-in option, a way for people to use Zoom or something else to call in. May I approach? I have a record I'd like to share with you.
Yes.
You take one, pass it down. So these are some emails I had with the Department of Community Affairs clarifying that yes, the emergency remote meeting protocol for local public bodies is still in effect. And indeed, the final sentence you'll see to confirm, yes, it is legal to have a hybrid meeting. So where'd you get the bad information that it was illegal? And what's the reason that you're not going to allow people to call in?
I had a conversation and I was informed that we could not do both because of protocol that was put in place at that time. I don't think it's important of where it came from. But it's
Yeah, it is important. Who gave you the bad information? You're trying to cover for them.
I'm not trying to cover
Then
for
who
anybody.
was?
There's nothing to cover. It was misinformation. I apologize that I spread it after the fact. I don't think it's important where I got it. And this council has chosen not to do remote voting calls.
You've chosen under a false pretense and given a false justification.
No,
What's the justification now?
Even now without a false pretense, we've chosen to do meetings in person.
Understood. So there were other questions at the last meeting that you didn't address. You say you'll always address questions at the next meeting. I asked how many murders are there this year? How many murders have there been this year? And you didn't know the answer. You said you'd get back to me. How many murders this year?
I don't have that figure.
You still don't know, okay. So 1 month ago today, Rogelio Lopez was killed on Delavan Street, stabbed to death. Is the killer still on the loose? I asked 2 weeks ago, he told me to come back in 2 weeks to find out if the killer's been captured yet. Do you know, has the killer been captured?
I do not know, that's a police matter.
Why didn't you look into the questions that I raised about this matter? Is this not important enough?
It's not.
A man's life is lost. Is there a killer on the loose? I mean, you said that
Director
Nixal
Miller,
Alerts will be used.
has he been captured, the killer? Please, if you would give a comment on this.
Mr. Radical sends me an email with the cases he wants. Depending on what I can release and what I can't, I'll respond to him. But I'm not going to, off the cuff, just take stuff that I don't have to prepare for.
It's only a murder. It's only a murder. You said that instances that may pose a threat to the public will garner a Nixal alert. Does a killer on the loose garner a Nixal alert? Because I didn't get one.
There are different circumstances, and they have their own parameters and determinations. So the council does not set their parameters for the Nixal alerts.
How many meetings do I have to come to find out if there's still a killer on the loose if the police have caught him?
I
It's now 2
think
meetings now.
Deputy Director Miller said if you send him an email, he'll address it.
I'm not going to send him an email on this. I asked you to look into it. You didn't. It's obviously not important enough to you. I also asked about a lot of things, like last time the police director had a public availability. When did the police director ever make himself available to answer the public's questions? When was the last time that happened?
You would have to speak with the director.
Again, I'm raising my question here. You say you're going to get answers to the questions. You won't answer that one?
The way the director runs his department is his prerogative within the guidelines of the city. And however he chooses to meet with the public is his choice.
Except that you supervise that department and you have the authority to ask him to come to these meetings.
I don't have the information of when his last public meeting was. You can contact him to find it out.
I would like to hear you give me the answer as the council president. So in 2 weeks, can you check on that and tell me the last time Director Caputo did a public event?
Yes.
Okay, I think at a minimum, he should be at one meeting every 10 years. He's failed. And we're coming up on 10 years since Mayor Cahill came here too. So really these folks are no-shows, and we need them to show up for us because we're in crisis. And, you know, frankly, I'm disappointed and dissatisfied that this council is running interference for those people and covering for them when we really need our leaders. We need our leaders to stand up. Please stand up for us, people.
Can I have the next speaker, please?
Good evening, Patricia Bomblin, 18 Cotter Drive. I just want to, two things on the sanitation workers. It's a tough job. It's actually one of the most dangerous jobs that you can have. I think it's more dangerous on the list of dangerous jobs than being a police officer. You know, they routinely get hit and all kinds of things happen to them. It is a very dangerous job. Those folks, they do work hard. I mean, I didn't know this, I was going to hear anything tonight, but when I hear that, it kind of intersects with a lot of the questions I raised about the 30-year tax abatement. You know, you're saying $1 million over 30 years. I don't care if they pay it this year, next year, whenever. I mean, you're selling the deal for $30,000 a year on $1 million over 30 years. It is laughable. It's not serious. I really want to encourage you guys. I know you want to be competitive and you want to draw developers and you want to create. I mean, this is a project that's outside the so-called Emerald City. I get it. But 30 years, you got to get off this 30 years. I said it to you before. Jersey City don't do 30 years. They do 10 years. They do 15 years. This is not necessary. If you're not getting a much richer package for the public with affordable housing, maybe a park with water spurting up for the kids, like they have one in Perth Amboy on the waterfront. There's a lot of things that you can get that would benefit the public at large in exchange for a pilot. If you're not getting a good package, I don't see how we get 30 years. Should be 10 years max. 10 years max. You're going to have 400 or 500 kids potentially in the public schools. Or they're going to, where are they going? 500 kids into private schools in this area. That's enormous. You have to do something about this 30-year number that you keep getting spoon-fed and accepting. You have to put your foot down and say no more. It's unfair. Look at the tide is turning on the economy. The inflation is outrageous. You hear the folks. You know that your workers aren't going to be able to afford those units. Something has to change. Something's got to give. Either there's got to be some affordable units in there. I mean, nobody's even talking about low-income units. They're talking about affordable units. Nobody here said low income. Everybody here said affordable. So you've got to sweeten the deal for the public. You've got to get things. I've read the package from the developer and tries to sell that people are going to be able to use public transportation from this development. That's really laughable. I live in Dewey Heights. There's no public transportation except in the front on Route 18, and those routes have changed. They're not what they used to be before the pandemic. You know what the public transportation is that people in that development are going to have? I'm going to say it out loud, and one of the other big stakeholders of the city is going to come running. Rutgers buses. That's what they're going to have access to. If I'm living in that development and I don't have a car, or I don't want to park a car at an incredible expense, I need to get to the train station, I'm going to take the Rutgers bus. Because anybody's entitled to ride the Rutgers bus. Does Rutgers know that they're going to have potentially, I don't know, 600 units? You guys got to do the math. You're voting on this. How many people is that? They're going to be riding Rutgers buses up by the Labor Education Center, downtown to the bus station. You think they're ready for that increase on their buses? Are they going to be happy? There's got to be more in the deal for the public and for people who qualify for affordable housing. That's it. Thank you.
Any other members of the public have any comment to make this evening? Seeing none?
Time for you to go.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Egan,
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming,
Yes.
Council Vice President Escobar,
Yes.
Council President Sikora Ludwig.
Yes.